So this is a popular quote because it's just quite a bold thing to say. You may have seen it in your philosophy or RE classrooms, just plastered on the wall, God is dead. But what does he actually mean here? Although Nietzsche was no fan of Christianity in the slightest or Western concepts of religion, he wasn't celebrating the death of God here. He was saying that with the rise of modern notions of capitalism and the modern ways of going about our lives, and the decline of the structures of religion in the West, especially, um, the God that we use as a fiction within society, using Nietzsche's thinking, the God that we use as a fiction within society um, to establish rules and to keep society held together, particularly kind of Durkheimian analysis of things, to keep society afloat, that God is now dead, and inevitably it's going to need a replacement. And he was worried what we're going to replace that God with. So, in the context of our essays, in response to this John Locke essay competition, if we're going to follow the Nietzschean idea that God is dead and has now been replaced by something else. Well, what has God been replaced by? If we're going to look at the idea of tillage and that God is an ultimate, what in general is the ultimate goal of the societies in which we live? Obviously, for some people, it's still going to be the God of Christianity. And if you go to the Middle East, where I am at the moment, then it's really, really beautiful in that religion is still very, very strong. And I'm currently in a Sunni city where most people would say that the ultimate is Allah, the God of the Quran. However, that's not so much the case in Western Europe and decliningly so in North America as well. So you might want to discuss in your essays what is the God which has replaced God, and does it reward the people that adhere to it? I'll be blown away if anybody knows who this chap is. Quite an obscure figure, but perhaps he was the kind of thing that Nietzsche was warning about with the death of God. So this is Dr. Amit Goswami, an American former scientist turned, don't know if you call him a cult leader, but certainly the founder of some sort of new religion called quantum activism. Well, according to Amit Goswami, um, God is essentially ourselves. With quantum activism, and you can find information about this online, it's not a particularly big thing. And if you want to talk about a different example in your essays, then be my guest. Just I thought it was interesting for illustrating the point that for some people, God is themselves. And according to quantum activism, then we have an ability within ourselves, if only we tap into the laws of nature and do enough meditation, we have the ability within ourselves to actually create things and to control the universe. And when enough people realize that we are essentially the gods of the universe and that we are the things that have the power over nature, then there will be no more war and we'll start living in a lovely place. Very similar to the New Age kind of theology that arose in the mid to late 20th century, where it was believed that if enough people subscribed to the religion, then there would be waves of positive spiritual energy crossing the world, and there would be an end to war and all kinds of hatred. Amit Goswami is the same kind of thinking as that, just he goes a bit more further using arguments from physics, especially the observer effect, which is where a principle in physics. I invite you to look it up, but it's essentially a principle in physics where observation changes the nature of a wave into particles. Say a wave will cease being a wave, or maybe the other way around, if you observe it. And he extrapolates from this well-known principle in physics to say that we, by observing the universe, have power over it. So, for example, the screen that you're watching this lecture on is here because you're looking at it. If you look away, who's to say it's there? But if you look back, then there it is again. So you make of this what you will. But certainly, this is another way of interpreting who God is. And then you can start making arguments over whether God is yourself. Well, do you reward yourself enough? Do you buy yourself enough chocolate? And then we get into classical ideas as well. So if you look at this picture, then that's a depiction of a scene in the Book of Exodus in the Jewish Bible, also used by Christians.